All right. Getting the... All right, Andrew. Betamax is rolling, sir.
All right, so we still are good on our tape.
I cannot believe it takes us a week to restart this machine.
You know, being kind and rewinding must have been different before the apocalypse, because I'll tell you what, it takes a long time to do this manually.
It takes a long time. It's like actually putting the pencil in and spinning it takes a whole week to rewind this tape.
I get tired. You know, we're not in very physically fit condition, you know, with all the candy and pop we're drinking with a regular diet. So
speaking of which, you diet, what are you eating?
Oh, well, today, you know, I want to make it a little lighter of a day, but eating a lot of chocolate. So I think this week I'm going to go with little Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, is that why your teeth look brittle?
Yes. Well, because, you know, it's got that citric acid, and I don't want scurvy.
That's true. We do get a lot of scurvy here in the video store.
It gets rough some days. I mean, there are some days, you know, we're sleeping, somebody opens their mouth, it doesn't smell like it should be their mouth, where that smell is coming from, you know, and then we just, one time we found that old Banaka, but then, you know, we ran out of that really fast.
Well, because it tasted really good. It didn't taste like all the gum that we've been trying to eat.
Yeah, the gum is not cutting it. I mean, granted, it's that clove gum, like that old-timey clove gum, but, I mean, I guess it's fine.
Yeah. It's not. We're getting lonely.
Yes.
And speaking of lonely, Andrew, what are we doing here?
Well, if you are finally hearing our broadcast, we are stuck in a video store called Rewind, and we've been stuck here for about 6 weeks now. And every week, once we get the tape wound back and broadcasting again, we try to reach out to the world. We know that it's a week every time because there are many times where there's a lot of silence and then we hear a loud monster eating something out just outside of the building that we're stored within.
It's getting scarier.
So to pass the time, you know, initially when we came in here from the apocalypse, when that happened, you know, we ran inside Rewind. Now we're here to stave off the boredom. We watched all of the popular movies out there, the AFI 100s and all the fun action movies, you know, all the big budget blockbusters, and now we're left with the bottom of the barrel, and we are watching through these terrible movies to maintain our sanity. Just one more week longer, hoping you hear our broadcast so that
and come save us. Please come save us. We hope there are people out there, and
it was fun being here for a little while. You know, no rules, eating candy for breakfast. Now I just want to go. I want things to go back to the way they were. I can't keep watching these movies.
It's starting to create PTSD. That's super true.
It is. I mean, I heard myself last night. I think I had a nightmare about Roller Gator again. I thought I was through the woods, but that movie just keeps coming back to haunt me.
No, you kept trying to put me in your backpack, and I wasn't appreciative of that because I'm not a baby.
No, I mean, I guess I'll take the baby over when you tried to make me the puppet.
That's true. But we also agreed not to talk about that, especially to our hopeful saviors. So let's...
Yes, mum is the word on that one.
Mum is the word. And speaking of mum is the word, I'm going to go ahead and say, because I found some balls this week.
Ooh. So you're going to be bouncing off the walls.
I am going to be bouncing off the wall. And on top of that, I found a drink called Balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It smells very noxious over here. I assume that's from the balls because it's an expired one, right?
I don't know. I would assume this video store has not been operational for a while, so I think everything in here is expired.
I don't think I've heard of balls since the 90s.
Since the 90s!
You know, 10 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago. I mean, 30 years
ago. So, speaking of 30 years ago, we are taking a dip from the past, I guess, like we always do, with a 1988 I'm not going to say gem, and I'm not going to say...
Don't say classic.
Yeah, I'm not going to say classic. What did we watch this week? Because this was on your shelf, sir.
Yeah, this was one that I had put in there, and really only for one reason, Patty Mullen being in it. But this week we watched Doom Asylum. It was directed by Richard Friedman, starring Patty Mullen of Frankenhooker fame and Kristen Davis from Sex and the City. You might know her.
That kind of caught me off guard. I was like, Charlotte?
Yeah,
And I don't know why I would know the character's name from Sex and the City.
that's okay. I've seen it too. I just didn't remember her name. I remember that she married a bald guy who left tea bags everywhere and was naked. It was very uncomfortable.
I don't remember that.
I guess your memory is better than mine then. I wish I could forget.
Yes!
This movie, though, this was one I'd heard about for a while, and it was pretty hard to find until we made it to Rewind. I was and am a Frankenhooker fan. I think the movie's absurd, and I know we talked a little about that last week. And I thought, well, how bad of an actress could she really be? Well, my questions were answered this week because holy shit, this movie is okay. Think of an amazing anime series. Let's take Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
You've got this amazing core of a story.
Yeah.
But then littered throughout the 26 episode seasons where 3 episodes were core story and the other 23 were filler. This movie was all filler. There was no, I could not believe how much time they killed based on what the choices they make to hit a runtime.
I think, and that was the goal of the movie. I think
Yes.
the script is extremely simplistic. They found a location and said, holy shit, let's make a movie about this location.
Yep.
From the Fangoria article that we read about this movie, the movie was shot over 8 days.
8 days. And it was shot in a real abandoned mental asylum.
So I think we're just throwing shit out there. What is the movie about? What is the plot?
Yeah, let's bring a little context to this. So Patty Mullen is a character, Julie. She's Julie, and she is driving in her car with her lawyer. I don't remember his name, but they are driving away very happily, celebrating because they just won a lawsuit and they won a lot of money.
$5 million.
$5 million. Thank you. They won $5 million. They won $5 million in their lawsuit, and Julie is a terrible person. How she's saying she's so happy that she's going to abandon her daughter at a boarding school so that her and the lawyer can go live a life of luxury together with the $5 million.
Well, and the lawyer was the divorce lawyer in her divorce.
Yes.
And so he stole her away from the family, destroying the family and wanting to destroy this little girl's life in the process. Yes.
He's a really good guy.
Really good. Like Samaritan.
Yeah. And they're so in love that they forget about the fact that they're driving and that they need to watch the road. And so as they're kissing in the front seat and laughing about abandoning their family, they come into a truck comes around the corner and they slam on the brakes, resulting in the slowest car crash in history where no speed was lost when the brakes were slammed on.
I was honestly expecting them to cut to Austin Powers at this point.
Oh, dude, I know.
With the guy going, no! And the dude, like the steamroller was like 50 feet away. It was so slow. Like if they would have cut out easily 5 seconds of this quick little scene, it would have been more intensive. But they just kept like, no, and then they showed the brake, and then like the dude threw his arms over his head again. He's like, no, and the car moved. They're like, no, and then they crashed.
And Julie, in her, oh God, that's a thick Jersey accent, said, "Ow, now!" Dude, her accent, honestly, I think that's her real accent. I think she just has a really thick Jersey accent like that.
Fair enough. Well, the daughter did too.
Yeah, and it played by the same person.
Oh my God, I did not put that together.
Yes. So Patty Mullen played her, the mother and the daughter.
Okay.
And so, so they get in the car crash. They roll out of the car. Our lawyer is scarred permanently. His face is all fucked up. Julie has, and I say lost a hand, but really she stuck her hand under some grass, and her boyfriend found another dislocated hand. Assumed
But
it was her dislocated hand.
yes, but for a low budget movie, I like that they're using practical effects and they're using what they actually had. So
Yeah, and it worked. It did work.
yeah, and again, it's not like a big set piece. It's not something we were leading up to. It was a quick little, oh my God, she lost her hand. And it was quick and easy, and that's fine. But yes, it's obvious, like it's just under a little pile of grass where that grass is nowhere near anywhere else in that scene.
But this little pile of grass really, they got their money's worth out of this pile of grass. We'll revisit this pile of grass in a little bit. So after that happens, we get our intro credit that says Doom Asylum. And they were playing House of the Rising Sun when they got in their car crash.
Mm-hmm.
So we know, okay, we have a little context. These two people died in a car crash, or one person died in a car crash. You know, the other person we assume is either dead or very heavily injured. House of the Rising Sun, Doom Asylum. Next cut is the same car driving on the same street under the same bridge playing House of the Rising Sun, only now we've got a group of kids, one of which being the daughter of the woman who just died in a car crash on this very road in this very car.
Mm-hmm.
Her preppy boyfriend, what did they call him? He's a white black guy because he's got a white personality because he's rich. Isn't that what they said in the movie?
I don't remember that part at all. I just remember how effeminate he was, and I was like, cool, a gay black character.
Yes. Oh, just like last week, he was a gay character who they cast in a straight role, which I think is fine if it wasn't so telling.
Yes.
What was his name? Was that Darnell?
Darnell, because I know as soon as they said it, I was like, my eyes kind of rolled a little bit.
And the yellow suit he was wearing, yellow pinstripe pants with a yellow button, like bright. He looked like a bumblebee.
He was vibrant.
When he started talking, I mistook him for Hollywood from Mannequin.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked Hollywood. He was like the best part of those movies.
It's not a dig on him.
Okay. That dude was awesome.
No, he makes those movies watchable.
Yes, agreed. I think everything else about this is not a discussion about Mannequin.
That's for some other time.
We'll watch Mannequin 2 on the run.
Oh God. So they're driving down the road to visit. Our Sex and the City girl's in it, and she's a brainiac. She's in the car with a group of friends. And there is the baseball card nerd.
The baseball card nerd and the turbo jock who is constantly in his head. And it was at this point that I thought they had taken a cue from Cabin in the Woods with the archetypes.
Yes.
But it's like, holy shit, Cabin in the Woods probably looked at this movie and said, okay, we don't need any other examples.
Yes.
These are the archetypes of the 80s crappy movies. So,
dude, I love it that they tried so hard to make these characters interesting. Like Darnell's the ladies' man, and the baseball card guy, his quirk is he's a baseball fucking nerd. And then there's the Sex and the City girl. She was her parents were psychologists, so she talks in big words. But the best is the jock. His quirky trait is that he's indecisive.
And you don't learn this through the fact that he is indecisive. You learn it through the fact of him saying, well, maybe I should get out of the car, but maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe I should. And then they like zoom into Darnell, who says, damn it, Brad, can you ever make a decision?
Yes.
And it was just like so eye-opening of like a bad writing job when the writer's like, well, what kind of quirk do we give him? Maybe we make him indecisive. Well, how do we show that? Let's just say it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk. God, the fucking exposition in this movie. Okay. Anyway, going down the rabbit hole. Let's
Yeah.
continue. So
So
they're on their way to an asylum.
yes, they're going to the asylum.
And they're going to asylum because it's like the cool place to be. Like, I don't remember them saying any kind of like destination, like, hey, we're going here for spring break and we'll stop at the asylum.
No, I think they were going to visit the grave of the girl's mother, or not the grave, but the location of where she died.
Really?
Because it was the 10-year anniversary of her death.
But as they were driving by, she's like, my mother died around here. It's like, well, bitch, if that's the whole point of the journey, we know. Your exposition is not helping this at all, especially since we just saw the scene like 3 minutes earlier.
Yeah, okay, so we're both confused because they just didn't establish a very good reasoning of why we are going on this journey with them.
Well, it sounded like they were going to the asylum, like that was the end goal, because they even said like, oh, do you believe the local lore?
Oh, that's right, because they spilled their guts with the exposition. You're right, when they're in the car. Oh, that was rough. That's why I forgot.
It's note for filmmakers out there: don't give us exposition. You are in a medium of visual. Fucking show us, and then we'll get it, and everyone else will fill in the pieces. Just fucking get to it.
I don't ever think we saw an establishing shot of the asylum either. I think we got some wide shots once we were in there, but
I believe we saw the entire opening credits scene of the establishing shots of the asylum. And it was obvious, like they shot the entire intro credit scene in like 10 minutes. Like everything was shot, and they're like, "Fuck, we forgot to shoot an opening credit scene. Go run and do that really quick, and just handhold everything."
But we don't have the permits.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. That's exactly what it felt like. It felt like they just found a place and jumped in there and recorded stuff, and they're like, "Fuck, we're gonna get caught. Let's get out." But then I learned that they shot there for 8 days, which is just a hepatitis-filled nightmare of a location to film in. And I felt so bad for the actors, like fuck the film crew, because they're there for they're there because they want to be, or like the director's there because he wants to be, but everyone else I just feel really bad about.
Yeah.
So they get they turn off the side of the road. I know we're going super long. Let's try and speed this up a little bit. They get off the side of the road because that's where her mom died. Apparently, they just instantly knew.
Yep.
She finds the mirror in the glass that her mom was using in the opening scene.
Yes.
And she goes, "This is my mom's. How the fuck do you know that?"
Yeah, okay, so it's hidden under the grass. Okay, so first of all, it's 10 years later. They're still listening to fucking the same version of House of the Rising Sun. It's not that good of a song. They get there. Kiki, who is Judy's daughter, played by the same actress, Patty Mullen, she says, "Oh, what's this?" Looks under the same mountain of grass, pulls out the mirror that is 10 years old, apparently, because it's her mother's, which she just knew, and it's got no weathering on it whatsoever, no dirt. It is pristine.
Except that the glass is broken.
The glass is slightly chipped.
Now, I was really expecting her to pull the hand out.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Because it's the exact same grass. And I was like, oh, this is my mom's hand. But then the absolute best line of the movie, at least in my opinion, Brad looks at his girlfriend and says, if there's a heaven, your mom has box seats. Yes. And she goes, cool. He goes, he says something else here. He's like, I wish I could be your mom.
After all, you've got me now. I mean, if that's any comfort to you, I'm not your mother, and I never could be. But I can try.
Can I call you Mom?
Sure.
And she says, can I call you Mom? And it's at this point, I need to check the box cover again to see if this is supposed to be a comedy or not. And I think it is, because the tagline says something about a funny bone.
Oh, really?
It's laying somewhere around here. Hold on, let me pull it up. Okay. Here it is. Here it is. It'll send shivers up your funny bone. So I think this is the part where I stop thinking that the writing is bad, and I start thinking, oh God, they're trying to tell jokes, and the writing is fucking awful because none of the jokes land. Yeah. And the things that are funny aren't supposed to be.
Yes.
But let's continue. They get back in the car. They head to the asylum. They pull into the asylum. Appropriate cat scream or the werewolf howl.
Yep. Bless you. That's
It's
what
dusty
it
as
sounded like.
fuck in this movie.
Dude,
video.
I know. I've been meaning to dust. I'm sorry.
Oh, I wish there was some way to edit out beta tape, but there's not. So I'm just
Nope.
going to keep going.
We're here. We're in
So
it.
we roll into the asylum, and they get out of the car, and they say, "What's that music?" And they're like, "You call that music?" And we cut to, "Oh, that's just Tina and the Tots."
Yeah,
Andrew.
Tiny and the Tots.
Tiny? I thought it was Tina.
Oh, maybe it was Tina.
Because they call her Tina a couple of other times.
You're probably right. Yeah, it's probably Tina and the Tots.
Outside of her other name, Giant Dyke.
Yes. And
Jesus.
Tina and the Tots, they play the local sewers.
We totally forgot the whole fact that after there was a car crash, the lawyer woke up as a cadaver.
Oh my!
And killed his doctors.
Yes. Okay. Oh my God! I'm so glad you remembered. I forgot about that because that establishes our villain.
That's the plot of the fucking movie right there.
So, I actually, jumping back to the mortician scene, I loved. So yeah, they get in the car crash in the beginning. They die. The wife is dead, or Judy is dead. The lawyer man is in the morgue. And there is one nerdy mortician and one cool guy mortician.
He has sunglasses on and he's eating a sandwich.
He's eating a sandwich over the body wearing sunglasses.
And he's got the acting chops of me. So it's tremendous.
And he gave my favorite line of the movie, which was he takes a bite of sandwich, cool mortician, takes a bite of sandwich and says, "Is that the lawyer that just won the lawsuit?" Nerdy mortician says, "Yes." Cool guy mortician says, "Just goes to show you."
Just goes to show you.
And then proceeds to do an autopsy with a box cutter.
And why does he cut off his face? Because his face was totally fine after the car accident.
Yeah, it was fine.
Is that what happens in an autopsy? Do they cut your face off?
Like, these guys were just, I think they were like gray market or black market morticians because look, they're using a box
blood everywhere.
Yeah, they're using a box cutter and eating their lunch. One of the lines they said was, "Give me the saw, Marvin. We'll get right in and scoop these brains right out of here." What the fuck?
And dude, like there's blood like all over the ceilings and shit.
It's everywhere.
Oh my god. Like to me, it looked like a location that the filmmakers were like, "Oh shit, they just finished doing this other movie in here. Let's quickly get in there and do our scene without cleaning anything up or justifying why there's blood everywhere. It's a mortician's office. Of course there's blood everywhere. That makes sense." So then go ahead.
No. I was just going to say my favorite part of that scene after the doctors get killed, the morticians get killed by the zombie with a box cutter. Is the fact that they ended the scene by just dropping a random bucket of intestines on the ground. There's no like lead up to them knocking it off a shelf or something. They just dropped on the ground, and that was the scene.
And that was it. And then it cuts to 10 years later. Oh no, then it cuts the opening screen, the opening titles, and then we cut to 10 years later. Now we're at the asylum. And then we roll in on Tina and the Tots, who are performing, honestly, the best music video I've ever seen. I don't know about you, but as soon as this pandemic's over, I'm buying this single. It is crazy good music. Why don't we listen to a little bit of that right now?
Oh, yes, please.
So as you can see, that's some good rock and roll music. Our Darnell character runs in and he thinks it's all fun to pull the plug on everyone, and Tina and the Tots get really upset. Yeah. Then Darnell and his friends are outside sunbathing, and for some reason, if their destination was an insane asylum, an abandoned insane asylum, for some reason they brought a beach ball.
Yes.
which they kept showing, and I kept waiting for that to be a Chekhov's gun to come back later as like the final kill thing. Like maybe they're running away from the killer and the killer steps on it and goes, "Oh no," and then falls down a hill or something. But it's never brought up again. So I'm so glad they brought it into the movie. Andrew, what fuck happened next? Because this movie's kind of a blur.
As they're in between them walking, okay, so Tina and the Tots, they're really mad, so they're yelling obscenities down at the ground as our heroes of this
They're on the
movie.
roof. Yeah.
Oh yes, they're on the roof, and they're yelling obscenities, and Darnell sees the black drummer, and the black drummer sees Darnell, and we cut to the first of 3 iterations of Darnell and his romantic interest running through a field, arms open towards each other, full fucking break, like cutting every 3 seconds between the two of them, holding this for it's at least a minute and a half long scene before they kiss, and then the camera pans up to the sun. So okay, we know Darnell is not gay in this movie. He is a straight man in this movie, and he is
which caught me off guard.
Me as well. Because
he was like, "Oh, do you think she likes me? I like her." I'm like, as like friends? What's going on? But sure enough, he's just effeminate, and that's totally cool.
That's cool.
So he decides to go into the place, but not before we get a full-on face shot of the baseball nerd, who is obviously played by a dollar store Rick Moranis with Asperger's.
Oh yes.
And that's just that caught me off guard. I thought it was Rick Moranis for a second. I'm like, oh no, Honey Shrunk My Baseball Cards.
Dude, I was like, I don't think I was ever like that with baseball cards, but I will say if that kid had X-Men cards, I could totally relate. I could totally relate too.
Which kind of took me off guard because he doesn't look like an athletic jockey kind of dude. He's
a statistics guy.
Yeah, he's a statistics guy. So that made more sense once we later have his little Asperger breakdown. Before Asperger's was a thing, but like they obviously, fucking honed in on that really well.
And because he definitely has Asperger's because of his insane interest in statistics, specifically baseball, his obsession with baseball cards, but also how he like randomly walks around spouting off TV advertisements and slogans, and like really, and he's talking to himself. There's no one else around, so there's definitely like you're saying there's an Asperger's. There's some sort of a mental. He's a slower kid, something like that has got to be in place. And they're like befriending him as a courtesy or to be nice.
I think everyone in this little friend group is a courtesy friendship. No one really gels that well. Like there was never a feeling where I was like, these guys knew each other before this trip.
No, and they were all so different. None of them had anything in common, and they were even really fucking shitty to Kiki about it being the 10th anniversary of her mom's death too.
Right.
I think there was one part they're like, she's been dead for 10 years. What the fuck? It's like, wow.
Get over it. Moms die all the time.
Yeah.
So Darnell runs inside because he wants to take front and like go, see the people and make sure everything's safe. But really, he's going in there to meet the drummer.
Yes.
And he's walking through this long fucking alley, long fucking hallway of the asylum.
Jesus, yeah,
and corridor. This is the very first time that I am aware of the graffiti in the movie.
Yes.
And I want to bring this up because the graffiti takes front fucking stage to the plot, because the plot is so dumb at times and so thin that I'm more interested in learning what they wrote on the background to make it look like lots of kids had been there. And the amount of times I saw Led Zeppelin and Metallica and other bands like, and Mopar. And then we get a giant fucking thing from Mopar, which is a car parts company.
Yeah, motor parts. I think it was for Chrysler. Yeah. Like, and then, there's just like little things where people had written like die or eat shit and die, or I assume a good portion of the there's one person I forgot to mention in the band, and she, I think, did a good part of the graffiti.
Rapunzel.
Which is Rapunzel, who is the Marxist, I guess. She's singing the People's Revolution.
Yeah. And I know we're getting way ahead of it, but I don't fucking care. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, watch this and then come back to this. But when she dies, she's like, I know lots of Republicans. You have the right to vote.
Yeah. And what made me laugh is when these people died, how little of a reaction they made. Like,
There was no reaction.
so we'll jump back a little bit to Darnell being back in the hallway, and he is catcalling to get to the drummer, hoping she's in the hallway. So he's catcalling her in the hallway, but the hallway is empty. So my favorite part of this scene is when he gets to the end of the hallway, and he's standing in a doorway, and the doors are open with a broken window in one of them, and he's standing there with just this empty room, empty hallway, and he catcalls again, and then when we cut back to him, rests his head against the door frame, and he's like so in love with this drummer girl.
Well, before he does that,
Oh.
he raps.
The asylum trick goes flick, flick, flick. I flick my bit. I eat my picky, tick, tick, tick.
Which leads to the horrible one-liners of the killer. Once the killer pops up, and I don't even think he knows what rap is. He's just hitting his thigh.
Yes.
He's just like...
Yeah, he was doing like, what do they call that, a ham bone? He was like ham boning.
Oh, ham bone. So he leans back up into the doorway. The lawyer killer breaches the doorway and kills him with a what? It looks like a C-clamp.
Yeah, it looks like a C-clamp or like one of those things, like those pliers you would use to pick up really big blocks of ice.
Yes, yeah, okay, that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, and he puts it around his head, squeezes it. Darnell just dies.
Darnell dies instantly.
And the lawyer, I don't know the guy's name. Like, they never really
said.
So the lawyer gives his first one-liner, which was something bad like, I don't like rap. Like, that's like the big joke.
Yeah, it's like, I prefer bluegrass or classics or something.
And don't call me honey.
Yes, he does not like being called honey.
And then he laughs at himself.
A lot.
Like, so like this is the first time I heard him do a quip and laugh. And my first reaction was, okay, the quips are stupid, but as soon as he laughs, it immediately took me out of the movie.
Yes.
I was like, this is stupid. I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, the bad quips are one thing, but he does this laugh like, don't call me honey. It's like, that's not funny. This isn't funny. The laughing makes the movie dumb. Like, not enjoyable anymore, just dumb.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely I do. And I was just checking our internal computer system here just because I was curious. The lawyer guy who died and who is now our monster reincarnate and who had killed Darnell, his name is Mitch Hansen.
Mitch? That's the character's name?
That is the character's name, Mitch Hansen.
I don't remember that name once.
Yeah. So, and just to let you know, so the Marxist keyboardist from the band who was singing, the Marxist chant and the Republicans, her name was Rapunzel because she was blonde. And, because this is appropriate, the drummer, who is the black girl that is the love interest of Darnell, her name is Godiva.
Godiva? Then why was... Later on, Tina's walking through the hallways saying, Madonna Rapunzel. Madonna Rapunzel.
Yeah, I don't see anybody named Madonna.
Godiva that's fucking racist. I know they bring up the word Negro
several
enough times that it made me really fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think I even had a note that I took that said can they please stop saying this? I was very uncomfortable.
The first time they said it, I was like, oh, is that an inside joke? And then they said it again. I was like, oh, no, stop.
Mm-hmm.
But her being named Godiva,
yes,
or Godiva, which is a chocolate, it just,
yes.
Jesus Christ, guys. Anyway, I'm done being a social hero.
I just want to talk about the roof for a minute because a lot of the story takes place here. So this is kind of where the band, Tina and the Tots, is their hangout now that practice is over, and I guess I have questions on if they brought certain items or if they found certain items. Because there's a old water cooler that they're filling condoms with, like water bottles, to peg our hero group from the roof. And I know they brought the condoms, but is that just like old nasty water, or do you think that they refill that? Is that rainwater? Like, either way, it seems really gross to me that they're using it in any way.
It was.
And the fact that Tina called the condoms scumbags,
Yeah.
like, that felt really dirty. Like, that wasn't needed. And then later, they just have a whole thing of chicken legs that they're eating up there on the roof.
Which is obviously crafty, and they just wanted to put it in the movie.
Yeah. And then there are, like, other things. So, like, there's a lot of things. People are constantly going up and down from the roof, one of which is our jock hero, as he hears screams from within the, I think it's as our non-bourgeoisie friend, the Rapunzel, as she gets murdered. He hears her screams from inside the in the asylum. So he runs up to save Kiki, who he thinks is getting hurt. Comes up to the roof, and Tina promptly throws him over the roof and just lets him hang there for an uncomfortably long time.
Well, they have a giant fight before she throws him over, and she's just like punching the air around him while the black drummer is sitting there going, "I wonder if he likes me." And then she flips him over the edge, and he's holding on by his hands, and we can obviously see something's holding him to a harness on his chest. Thank God, because I was like, this movie's way too low budget to do anything right, so I doubt there's a crane system.
No. It looked like there was a rope popping out, like, from the front of his shirt where his buttons were. Yep.
Right.
And it was attached to a nail.
It looked like he was like hooked onto something really fucking breakable.
Oh yeah.
And when they did the far away shot, I was like, oh my God, they don't have good enough effects in this movie to justify what that actually looks like. I highly doubt they did like a matte, like a cutaway kind of thing in editing. So that's actually a dude hanging from the top of this building.
I'm sure they just gave him an extra $100. That's how they got Tina to flash her boobs.
Yeah, I saw that too. In the credits, there is a fake Shemp. So I'm wondering if that was the fake Shemp, the stunt guy.
Which, of
fake
course,
Shemp
is a Raimi nod.
Is a reference to Sam Raimi through his movies like Evil Dead.
Yep.
But it was like a stunt man, but a stand-in for a stunt man. Not just a stunt dude, but someone who looks like someone else, blah, blah, blah. So he hears screaming, and he pole vaults up over the edge of the building after he's been hanging there for like, I don't know, 8 years. He pole vaults up over the building, and he runs out of the roof to go find where that screaming's coming from.
Yep.
Then I lose all track of concentration because I stopped caring about the movie. It's unbelievable to the point of being unbelievable, you know?
There's so many points to this movie that it's like, you know, there's so much happening at the same time, and they're really all over this asylum. But really, in between deaths, there's not a lot of story going on. Pretty much just to kind of give you the backstory, because I really want to talk about the deaths because I actually thought that the gore was pretty good, and I'd like to talk about some of those. The main story is the lawyer guy that died. He woke back up in the morgue. He has a newspaper clipping where he identifies Kiki, who is Julie's daughter. He confuses her with Julie, so he's pursuing her to try and start a romantic interest again, thinking that it's Judy. That's pretty much the whole story as he chases down and kills these kids.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about some of the kills. So we've already talked about Darnell dies. He gets his head squeezed in. The next death is our friend Rapunzel, who is a fan of the working class. And I know we talked a little bit about this already, where when she dies, she talks about how she's Republican and they have the right to vote. And or she knows lots of Republicans, and she has she knows that the killer has the right to vote. He kills her because he's washing his hands in like liquid nitrogen, So in a nod to Jason X, or Jason X was a nod to this, he takes the Rapunzel and he puts her face into the liquid nitrogen where it melts off. Or is it some kind of acid? I couldn't tell.
It was acid. Yeah, it said like hydrogen acid or
Okay,
something,
it was
whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Either way, it's corrosive to skin. So it's actually a pretty good prosthetic they had of her melted face with like just a little bit of the skull showing and the eyeballs poking out. Like it looked pretty gruesome. I mean, I would the effects for that kill were pretty up to par with what my expectations would be.
Mm-hmm. No,
What did you think?
The makeup was surprisingly good. The makeup was like, even in like the first scene with the cadaver in the autopsy, but all the gore was relatively well done. Like you can definitely tell where they put their budget.
Yes.
It was high end enough to make me go, oh shit, okay, that's pretty decent. Later on, there was one drill to the forehead kill that I was like,
that was really good.
How did they do this? So I had to like rewind it a little bit and kind of like watch it, and I realized it was the baseball hat, but it was still really well done.
Yes, and that is the kill of the nerdy baseball kid. He loses his valuable cards; they get blown into a building, and he encounters our killer after ranting the DARE slogan to himself. The killer pulls out a giant, brand new drill from an ancient medicine bag where he stores all of his killing utensils, and he puts. And they don't cut away from it. You see the drill bit get put right on that kid's head, and then it starts spinning, and blood comes out. It looked really real.
It looked really good. Like that's why it kind of caught me off guard. It reminded me of like August Underground.
Yeah.
Where they saved all this time going to the gore, and then when they finally got to it, I was like, oh shit, they really nailed this so well that I don't understand how they did it the first time I watched it. So it was good. It was actually like, it caught me off guard, and then I was like, fuck, learn how to write a goddamn script and dialogue.
Yeah, and then there was like little gags, like the killer would try to make gags where like was it after the working class girl Rapunzel died, he like listened to her body with a stethoscope.
Yeah, and then he started laughing.
Yeah, then he started like there was a lot of really bad laughter in this movie.
Yeah, again, the laughter like took me out of the moment.
Tina's laughter was the worst.
Ugh.
Because
Yeah,
it was constant,
it was
and it was very forced and not necessary.
It was grating. Yes, I agree. Speaking of laughing, there are some funny parts in the movie, but again, I don't think they're supposed to be. There's a scene where Kiki and Brad are in a chapel because they fucking found a chapel to pray in, because obviously, you know, they spent so much time talking about how religion is important to them. And they're talking in the chapel. They're praying to God, and Kiki gives the probably infamous line of, God, I'll do anything for you. I'll give you money. I'll give you sex. I'll get you a charge card to Bloomies.
Yes,
And
yes.
I thought it was
that was fantastic.
But then Brad's laughing. Like the actor is laughing under his face. And I'm willing to bet like they only had a certain amount of time they shot that. And the movie shot on film, so it's not like they could like run around and shoot really fast. When you shoot on film, everything's a little bit slower. You gotta make sure the gate's clean. You gotta make sure like the film is loaded right. It takes a long time to do that shit. So for them to shoot this scene, it was probably like a one take and go kind of thing. But I will forever use the term bloomies when I go shopping. Yeah.
Yes. And it's funny too, because I think shortly after that scene, she gets kidnapped by the killer. And one thing we have to note regarding these kills and these things going on, every time the killer does anything, he goes into the basement and he walks through this sewer, and he makes the breathing noise like the green creeper guys make in Minecraft. He's always like,
Yeah.
And then he goes and he watches old movies. And they show like very long cuts of old movies in between each kill.
Now, usually when movies do this, it's to amplify a character moment or a plot moment by showing, I mean, like, as an artist, you want to show what you love about the medium, so you show older movies. It's like if a character is going through kind of turmoil, like inner turmoil, they're going to show a scene with them in a movie where a character is like Jekyll and Hyde, where he's transforming, something like that. And that's what I was thinking they were going to do with this, but I couldn't really like match everything together. And it was obvious that the runtime of the movie was so fucking thin. It was so low.
Yeah.
I bet you they went back and shot this after it was done. But him sitting in that room, because that room doesn't look like the same place as the asylum.
And you never see his face in that room.
Oh, I did not realize
his
that.
Back. He's always.
So I'm wondering if it was like the director or something.
Yep, I bet it was, or even just a fucking dummy just sitting there with a wig.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of wigs, there was one blonde wig that was on every character. It was mostly in Tina's hair, but it was also done previously when we saw Rapunzel. Like Rapunzel had like a flat press hair, but after they pulled it out of the acid bath, it was obviously the same wig that Tina was wearing, like that really crinchy blonde wig. And they did it a few other times in the movie, and I'm like, God, they really got their money out of that $5 wig.
Oh yeah, that crimp was rough.
But cutting to the movies, like it was funny at first because I'm like, oh wow, they need runtime, and then they put like a solid 2 minutes at one point, and then I was like, okay, I pray they don't do that again. And they did it like 3 more times.
Oh, they ended the movie on one. They ended the movie on an old movie clip, summing up the end of an old movie and then cutting to the end credits.
Yeah.
And then it was the real credits.
The end from another movie, and then they cut back to our movie. It's like, whoa, no, you can't have both. Pick one or the other. So all of these movies in the credits are quoted as or given props to Todd Slaughter. All of those films were directed by Todd Slaughter.
Todd Slaughter?
And there was like
never heard of
8 different movies. I haven't either. So either the director really loved this guy and really respected his work, or all of those movies were in public domain.
That's what I'm thinking.
He could use them as he wanted to. Like everyone and their brother can use Night of the Living Dead because they never got the correct copyright.
Yep, I'm thinking that it was it's a public domain issue, and they just tried to find little pieces of that movie that kind of aligned with the theming of what they were going for. But it just, like, again, like, none of this matters. Like, the core of the story is this lawyer is confusing his dead wife's daughter with his girlfriend or whatever, and he's trying to pursue a romantic relationship with her. And they talk about love and all this.
They don't talk about that until the very end.
Right. That's why it's like all this stuff we're talking about now doesn't matter.
Right. None of the plot is just thrown out. He's like, I did this all for you. I killed all these people for you so we could be in love together. It's like, what are you talking about? When was that ever a part of the docket of plot?
Not until the very end, after we see what I think is hands down the best kill of the movie.
Which one did you like?
That was Tina's kill. Because it was so senseless, and she did it to herself. And what happened to her is fucking ridiculous.
She tripped.
Why would this be in an asylum?
But okay. First off, why is a meat packing car cruncher thing in an asylum? But
thank you.
Also, she kind of like walked by a switch, and hit it with her leg, and that flipped her entire body upside down, and she fell on a track where there's tons of ways to get off, and at any point she could have just grabbed a side. Yes. But she's doing the Austin Powers thing. Obviously, the director thinks as soon as something's about to happen, the human body has no way of ever getting out of that. If they're about to have a car crash,
or just possum, and he went possum every time.
It is, there is no fight or flight. It is possum because that happens throughout the entire thing. When Charlotte, the nerdy girl character, is about to get killed, she backs up like 3 feet and sits down in a chair for about 15 or 20 seconds while the murder is coming up to her. The baseball Asperger's Rick Moranis dollar store guy backs up to a door frame. Half of his body is outside the door frame, and he just stands inside the door and says, "No, leave me alone." Like, fucking run. So I think the director honestly thinks that all people become paralyzed with fear the moment anything is injected with them, and the idea of fight or flight just doesn't exist.
Yes, I agree. And it was ridiculous. But this conveyor belt scene was the most absurd because she screamed the whole way through, and you're thinking, okay, what could it be doing? She's screaming. What's going to happen to her? And then they show her come out on the other side of the conveyor belt, and she is a square block of meat with the wig on top and a hand sticking out.
And springs.
Yes, and there were springs and stuff. Yes.
Tina is so metal, she's filled with springs.
She's damn near Tetsuo the Iron Man. Like, and there was one other scene before that. I think it was before that kill or after that kill when we realized the love plot, and Kiki, who the killer thinks is Judy, is now running for her life. The killer puts on chapstick. He like pulls out a chapstick and he like moistens his lips, fixes his shirt, and you can see the mask as he fixes his shirt and tie. You can see the line of the mask. And then he goes to pursue his love, Judy, who is really her daughter, Kiki. Oh, yeah. This is where they thought they could get deep. So, what happens? They have a confrontation out on the picnic blanket, Kiki and the killer, and he's holding, of course, the newspaper clipping showing Judy's picture and stating that she died. And she goes, "Oh," she has no reaction that this was her mom. She has, like, at the beginning, she's like, "Oh, my mom this, my mom that." She has no reaction that this is her mom in the picture. She's just kind of like connecting dots. She's like, "Oh, you love my mom and you think I'm her. Okay, I understand." And then what does she stab him with? Like a corn cob thing or something?
Oh,
she kills him, right?
It was, yeah, like in his eye. Oh God, no! It was the mirror. It was the mirror she picked up in the grass.
Yes. She kills him with the mirror that she picked up in the grass. That's right.
And she just stabs him in the eye kind of lightly.
Yeah. And, Then birds just start cackling like crazy as she walks away from the body with no way to get out in a bikini.
Well, let's go ahead and justify this. She's in the bikini the entire film and high heels.
She is, and I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with that.
It's so annoying that there are parts in this movie that actually felt like a decent slasher film. Like they actually had a concept, they had a really fun location, they had really great kills, but then they just gave up on almost every other aspect. I think they tried to make a comedy, but they didn't. I think they tried to make a horror movie, but they didn't. And this is why I always say horror movies are the easiest and the hardest movies to make. They are the easiest to plow through, but they are the hardest ones to make good.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's just, I mean, they prove this theory beyond a doubt in this movie because they had all the parts and they dropped the ball. Maybe their budget wasn't big. Maybe that's only why they could film for 8 days and they just fucking ham-fisted their way through this. Maybe the script was originally decent and they're like, we don't have enough time to film all these character moments. Let's just make a comedy instead. I know when you're on a film set, yeah, like when you're on a film set, things change, and it sucks. It really sucks. Like usually, you go into a scene and you have like, oh, these are the 30 shots I want for this scene, and then you get there, you're like, well, we only have enough time for 6. It's like, well, fuck that. That throws away. We have to throw away this whole scene then to make it work for the film, and that's heart-wrenching. But you don't change the. I don't know. I'm talking like I actually know what they did for this film, but
no, I agree. But I will say there's hope for some of these actors. Not much, but I will say Darnell. His claim to fame. He's been in a couple really big movies.
What was he in?
He was in a Bruce Willis movie named Tears of the Sun,
Oh
and
yeah,
he was a cop in the SWAT team in the movie Seven, and he actually has quite a bit of screen presence in Seven.
really?
He is also in Space Jam: A New Legacy. That's the new one.
There's a new one?
There's a new one. But he's had a very good career in very popular shows. He was in Fresh Off the Boat. He was in that series The Mick. He was in Modern Family. He was in another popular one I've heard about is This Is Us.
This Is Us is fantastic. It's corny as shit, but it is really heart pulling.
He's had a lot of work. So I mean, I guess it wasn't all bad for some of these people. I think this was one of Patty Mullen's last movies. If
Did
this
she
came
die?
before, no, she's still alive. She just stopped acting, and she's only been in like this, Frankenhooker, and one other movie.
I loved her in Frankenhooker.
She was amazing in it. She was absolutely amazing. I think the only person that really turned out the best from this movie would be the Sex and the City girl, Kristen Davis.
Charlotte got her comeuppance, and she got paid.
Yep. Everyone else, it's kind of like they were probably just helping people, or our cool guy, Mortician. He was in two other movies. He did stunts in Stand By Me. And he was Moe's Thug #1 in a movie called Shrunken Heads. So if I'm a betting man, you've seen Shrunken Heads?
I have seen Shrunken Heads.
Fuck, you're awesome. That's so cool. I've never heard of that one.
Is no bueno, sir.
Oh, dude, I'm looking at the cover. I'm holding it. It cannot be good. But that makes me think, if he did stunts in Stand By Me, and that was 86, and Doom Asylum is in 88, I'd bet you $10 he was the guy hanging from the roof.
Oh,
and I bet
call.
you that's why they gave him the part of the medical. They didn't even give him a name. Medical examiner. That's it.
Wow. Poor dude. But
dude,
I'm sure that shit happens all the time.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like, it's just and this is kind of part of the reason why I love looking at some of this stuff, because it's just like, you watch these and you think, like, this has got to be a career ruiner, like, before your career even starts. But a lot of people get a lot of work after these movies.
Well, I mean, what's the old adage? Every decent actor has been on Law and Order or as SVU or something like that, and they always play like a corpse or something, and that projects them into the next line of work. Like, you do this one little we think is a bit part, but then they look at it as like, well, that's a big stepping stone. So, and truth be told, I mean, how much work is an actor getting? Even if they're getting, a couple grand for acting in this low budget B movie about a lawyer killing people in an insane asylum, maybe it's them going like, well, it's a week and a half of my life. I'm getting paid, I'm getting fed, and I get to be in a movie. Even if it's bad, it still goes on my resume.
Yeah. And hey, work is work. So
exactly.
Because who knows? Like, I'm sure that there are some movies where people, they sign on to it and they think, okay, this might actually be good, and it's dog shit because your vision of what this movie is going to be after reading the script is going to be different from what the actual director and editor presented to be. But at the same time, you never know when you get these scripts what's going to be a fucking just bang out success. So it's like, what if this was
super true,
fucking amazing?
And especially in the 80s when these movies were being made like left and right, it's good to jump on something because there's so much of them being made, and you never know what's going to take off and what's not. But one of my favorite stories about this is Steven Spielberg saw Vin Diesel in an indie film about a bouncer, and he's like, I'm just going to give this guy a scene in my upcoming movie, Saving Private Ryan. And people went ape shit over him, and that's what blew him up. It's just like, you were in this little indie film. Maybe someone will see it. So
yeah,
I want to act, Andrew. I want to act.
It's all exposure, dude. I am as you know, I am a terrible fucking actor. I am
too.
I would never want to act. I would want to voice act.
Ooh.
voice acting sounds fucking awesome because you can do everything in like casual clothes. You take a movie and you go sit in a room with your friends and you fuck around. That sounds so awesome.
See, I want to be the guy who's like going nuts in front of a camera. I want to be the one who's like, I can't fucking take this anymore. I'm gonna eat my peanut butter, and then just fucking like just go ballistic and like tear up a scene that the art director like passionately put together, and the director will be like, "That's awesome," and the art director will hate me, and the editor will hate me for how much I'm popping the sound. I was in a film like years and years ago where I played a guy on death row. And
Okay.
I was being killed in an electric chair, and they said I screamed so loud they had to redo it because I blew out the sound of the boom operator, and they just had me scream over and over, and I ended up blacking out.
Holy
and
shit.
I remember coming to, and they like the director was shaking me. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, what happened?" And he's like, "You were out for like 2 minutes, and we couldn't get you to wake up."
Oh,
I was like,
shit,
"That's fucking scary as shit." So
I'm using this power for good only. No.
Only at McDonald's and Krispy Kremes am I going to use this power.
Dude, you would walk onto
shit.
every set
Power,
and you go to
dude.
the director and you'd say, "Hi, I'm Jason. I'll be performing every emotional acting scene as Tommy Wiseau saying you're tearing me apart, Lisa. Thank you. I'll see you on set." You brought me the
rainbow
wrong
of my
book, Lisa. My character's name is Tandy.
Exactly.
You are Lisa.
He's like, "You are Lisa now." All right. Andrew, I'm sorry to say this, but the beta is warping. We gotta
I think we're
gotta
gonna have to
finish
find
this.
a new tape to start recording over soon. It's gonna be we might be making some hard decisions soon, but before we do, I think we need to reveal to people what was in the box that we found the key to.
Oh my God, the rental return box. What was
We
in
heard it-
the rental return box?
We heard the noise a couple of weeks ago. We didn't know what it was, so we looked all over, and then we finally found the keys to the locked
We found the
closet to
keys!
return box. They were taped to a poster of License to Drive right in the area where the keys are on the poster, and we missed it. So I opened up the closet to dive in first and to see what horrors we would be presented, and we were presented with a videotape that had been returned in the Dropbox, and there was also a note, and it said, "See you next week." Do you think people are out there? I don't believe it. I think that had to be there in the before times. That note, it was a coincidence. There's no way.
That note had to be. Yeah, like I'm sure. But what was the noise then? Do you think it was? Oh God.
Oh,
Do you
what the
think
noise
someone-
we hear? The mechanical monster?
No, the mechanical monster it only comes on that one morning. But
That's right.
This came closer to nighttime. What? Do you think that someone knows we're in here and they're giving us this? Because it wasn't just a note. It was a VHS tape.
Yes. Maybe somebody's helping us. Maybe they know that we're here, but they can't escape. They can't break us out yet, so they're helping us bide our time by giving us new tapes.
I think that's obviously the right answer because they are going out of their way to say, "Hey, keep surviving in there." And I don't want to be paying for this late fee.
Yes.
I think it's a good combination of both.
But see you next week. I'm not opening the door for people. I don't believe that whoever this zombie is, this helpful zombie or whatever, I don't trust them. I'll wait until they give us more tapes. Maybe they will come back next week with a new tape. I'm curious to see where this goes. But
I am too. But in the meantime, more importantly, what tape? Well, hold on. Let me grab it here. They grabbed the movie. They returned the movie. We grabbed the movie Sorceress from 1982.
Ooh, the 1982 movie. That's the fantasy version, right?
It is a sword and sandal movie, at least based on the cover art here.
This is one I've heard a lot about.
Yep.
Is it sorcerer or sorceress?
There are 2 S's and a chick on the cover, Andrew. I know that the woman doesn't make a lot of difference because, there's always a half-naked woman on the cover of these sword and sandal movies, but
Yeah, man, that's
sorceress.
that's how we watch it. All right, well, this is because I know there's a 1980s or late 70s movie called Sorcerer, directed by William Friedkin, that is a wartime movie. So it's good to differentiate. Sorceress. All right, this is gonna. I think I can see. I know you have it, and I'm trying to not look at the cover. I'm gonna give you a mental image of what I'm seeing. It's very similar to the Barbarian covers. I would put it closer to what is that one? Not Sword in the Stone. Sword in the Sorcerer. Is that what it's called? Where the guy had the 3-bladed sword.
Yeah.
Technicolor art, and I believe there's a lion or a griffin on the cover of Sorceress.
It's very in the vein of like a D&D manual book cover. It looks like it's like directly from a Dungeons and Dragons book.
I'm good with that artwork, and I'm looking at the box cover now. I was kind of close to my description.
And what we say about box covers. If the art on the cover is good, obviously the movie's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. I just have one question, just to paint a picture. So we've got the lion with wings. I don't know if that would be a griffin. We've got our bikini-clad sorceress, I assume. We've got a snake. Is that a monkey wielding an axe, wearing studded cuffs on the cover?
Yes.
What? Is that the main guy?
I hope so, Andrew. I hope we have that kind of depth to this.
Oh, okay. Because now I'm really curious about this humanoid monkey with studded cufflinks and a broad axe. Oh, this is gonna be good, dude.
Good is a term we could use. Yes.
Yes, we could use that. I don't. I think it's gonna be good, man. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be Roller Gator good. But I definitely it's gonna be a good one. Just looking at the cover, looking at the box. Oh my, we're gonna have fun with this one.
It's gonna be it.
Be removing Andrew.
Shit. Hold on. The Betamax is fucking up.
Oh shit, we're warbling. All right.
All right, until next time,
Remember, we are in the Rewind movie
rental store.
We are here. We are waiting for more contact. Somebody is out
there. If it's you,
Please bring us another tape and another note
to let us know that
you are real.
In the meantime, you can always call us.
We are at
area code 5